The film's events begin in South Africa with a doctor named Andrew who is sitting in a tent, feeling upset because he failed to save the life of a sick patient he was operating on. Suddenly, his assistant enters and tells him to leave the place because an armed group is approaching the village where he is. He becomes scared, gathers his belongings, and gets in. He gets in his car and goes to his wife Wanda, who is giving lessons to poor children. He tells her they must leave quickly because an armed group is coming to the village and their lives are in danger. She is surprised by what he says and asks how he knew their location. He tells her it must be someone from the village who did it to take them hostage and demand a ransom from the American embassy. His wife is convinced by his words and has to go with him. She returns the children to their homes, says goodbye to them, and gets into the car with him to go to the airport. She is sad about leaving, and Andrew promises her they will come back once things settle down. He feels upset about the situation he failed to save and tells her that the reason is the lack of medical resources. The medical aid she requested didn't arrive in time, which is why the patient died. His wife believes his words and tries to comfort him, telling him he's not to blame and that he did what he could. At the same time, we see three wealthy young men who were on a trip in the desert, but their friend Jill got heat stroke and had to return to America, and they too are waiting for a private plane to take them back. The pilot arrives. His name is Taylor. He goes into the employee's office to get a flight permit, but the employee refuses to grant it. Taylor is forced to bribe him. The employee accepts the bribe, stamps the permit, and Taylor leaves to travel. At this moment, Andrew and his wife arrive, and he asks to take them with him on the plane back to America. But Taylor takes advantage of the opportunity and demands $10,000 for each person. Andrew is shocked by the high amount and tries to negotiate, saying his assistant agreed on $6,000. Taylor refuses and says it's his private plane, and if he wants, he can wait for the airline company. He's free to do as he wishes, then leaves. Andrew is forced to agree to the amount. He goes with his wife to board the plane with the other passengers, but Taylor tells them no one is allowed to bring luggage because the plane is small and can't handle heavy weight. The passengers agree reluctantly, leave their luggage behind, and board without it. The journey begins, and Andrew is scared because his seatbelt is broken, but he refuses to tell his wife to avoid worrying her. Suddenly, the plane shakes and the passengers are frightened, but Taylor reassures them he's flown many times, knows the route well, and says these are artificial turbulence and that there's no danger. He flies at high speed to arrive sooner, but one of them says the plane is overloaded, and he's asked to slow down to avoid problems, but Taylor refuses, acting arrogant and challenging that he will arrive before schedule. He increases the speed even more, and suddenly a storm hits. Taylor tries to control the plane but fails, the engine explodes, and the plane begins to fall rapidly. The passengers are terrified, screaming continuously, and then they lose consciousness. Because of the pressure difference, Andrew regains consciousness and finds himself on the ground since he wasn't wearing a seat belt. He runs through the plane to check on his wife and is relieved to find her still alive, but then he is shocked to see that she is trapped under the seat. He asks the passengers for help to free her, but when they try to pull her out, they are surprised to find that the seat is stuck on. She injured her legs and suffered a severe wound, screaming from the pain, forcing him to leave her until he could provide first aid. He takes alcohol from Taylor to ease her pain. We learn that one of the passengers died due to the incident. His friend feels upset and goes to bury him, crying. Afterwards, Andrew starts stitching his wife's wound and ties her legs to stop the bleeding. However, her injury is serious, and she won't be able to walk. One of the passengers confronts Taylor, blaming him for their situation, saying he didn't maintain his plane. Taylor pulls a knife, threatening him that if he tries to run, he will regret it. He goes to a high place to locate exactly where they are and sees wild animals. He realizes they are in the most dangerous area of the desert. We see a pack of lions approaching, knowing they are nearby. The lions start moving closer to their location, tracking the scent of blood from Wanda's leg wound. Taylor talks to the passengers, telling them there is a village nearby they can reach before night, and they must move now. But Andrew refuses to leave his wife, telling them he will stay with her and asks them to send help when they reach the village. The passengers start gathering their belongings, taking anything they might need. Taylor talks to Andrew, asking him to reconsider and come with them since the place is dangerous and wild animals might attack. But Andrew refuses to abandon his wife, saying he will stay with her no matter what. Taylor is forced to leave him and walk away, carrying a gun. He asks one of the passengers to stay with them to defend themselves, but the passenger refuses, saying he won't risk his life for them. Someone takes the lead and starts heading toward the village. They keep walking through the desert, but one of the passengers says they're going the wrong way and the village is to the west. However, Taylor insists he knows the location and is sure it's to the east, so they have to follow his directions. They continue on but suffer from the sun and lack of water, and one of them collapses. He manages to endure the thirst, and Taylor gives him the water he is telling him that they are close to arriving, with the village just half an hour away. They keep going, expecting to find the river to drink from. Meanwhile, Andrew is worried about his wife because she has bled a lot and is endangered. He tries to revive her, but she continues to hallucinate and is unconscious, telling him that she is scared. He holds her hand to reassure her and tells her that the passengers have already reached the village and help will be sent to them. He promises they will raise the child and continue their lives together. The passengers arrive at the location where the village should be but are shocked to find it isn't there. They realize they are lost, and one of the passengers starts a fight with Taylor. He takes his gun and they accuse him of being the cause of their troubles. They say he refused to listen and head west on purpose to get rid of them and steal their belongings. But Taylor tells them he's hallucinating from the sun and that they need to return to the plane instead of wandering the desert lost where no one will find them. They separate from him and leave him behind. He returns the way he came, fearing the other passengers who are forced to go with them. They keep walking on their own tracks. Meanwhile, Andrew senses danger and has to grab a weapon to defend himself if an animal attacks him. Then Taylor and the passengers return. They see traces of blood and realize a lion attacked the plane. Shocked by what happened, they think Andrew and his wife are dead. Suddenly, Andrew appears alive and attacks Taylor, strangling him. He says Taylor is responsible for his wife's death. We learn the lion attacked them and Andrew couldn't save her. Taylor feels like he is going to die and has to signal for help to push Andrew away. Andrew breaks down and goes to bury his wife's body, crying and feeling guilty for not protecting her. One of the passengers tries to console him, saying there was nothing anyone could do for her and it's time to let her go. Then he leaves Andrew alone to calm down. Afterwards, he goes to Taylor and asks what they will do since night is approaching and the lion will surely return, putting their lives in danger. Taylor says they have one chance to save themselves by hiding in the plane's cockpit, but it only fits 3 people and there are 4 of them, so one will have to stay outside. They decide to do it. The lot falls among them, and the choice is on the rich young man, but he breaks down and pleads with one of his passengers to take his place. He offers him $1 million, but the passenger refuses, saying that his money is worthless at a time like this. Then Andrew comes to him and gives him the cross to protect him. Night falls, and the passengers enter the watchman's cabin to hide. Taylor goes to the young man and gives him firewood to light the fire, telling him to stay awake and keep the fire burning to protect himself from animals. He then leaves him and goes into the cabin. At night, they hear the sound of gunfire and realize that the passenger who took the gun separated from them. They conclude that an animal attacked him. The young man becomes scared and keeps adding wood to the fire. The fire stays lit, and Taylor comes out to check on him and tells him to stay awake. At that moment, a snake enters the cabin unnoticed. Unfortunately, the young man falls asleep from exhaustion. The lioness approaches him and attacks. He keeps screaming and asking for help. Andrew wants to go out to help him, but Taylor refuses and says, as soon as he opens the door, the lion will finish them off. They keep the door supported with iron to prevent it from entering, but the snake bites one of his legs and Taylor manages to finish it off. The knee keeps screaming from the sting and tells him that Andrew should remove the poison from his leg before it spreads throughout his body. He gives him a stick to bite on and begins to open a place to bite and expel the poison, and he succeeds in saving his life. The sounds of the lions disappear, and they realize it has left. The next day, when the sun rises, Andrew comes out of the cabin and sees bloodstains on the ground, realizing the young man has died. Taylor tells them they must head east to reach the village before night falls. Boozled returns, but Andrew refuses and remains sitting under the tree where he buried his wife, saying he will die with her. Taylor tells him he's crazy and has to leave him, then walks with the passenger who the snake bit. Suddenly, they see a car coming from afar, rejoice, and wave at it, thinking they will be rescued, but it turns out they are from Kaabila. They live in the forest and find on the plane that this year it carries animal horns. They realize that rare animals are being killed and their skins and horns smuggled. They think Andrew is responsible and beat him to confess who is helping him, but he refuses to speak. They raise the gun at him, threatening to finish him off, and he is forced. Taylor admits to himself that he owns the plane and was the one smuggling those things. He tries to calm the passengers and asks them to take the horns and leave them, but their leader kills him and orders his men to watch Taylor and Andrew until they negotiate with their embassy and demand a ransom. He warns them that if they try to escape, they will kill him. They keep pointing their weapons at them. One of them throws water in front of them to torture them because they are thirsty. Hours pass, and Andrew faints from exhaustion and falls to the ground asleep. The guards fall asleep, but Taylor refuses to give up and decides to steal the weapon from one of them. He approaches slowly, but suddenly, he is noticed and fights with the guard. They continue hitting each other, and the other guard wakes up, raises his weapon to hit him, but Andrew regains consciousness just in time, attacks him, and prevents him from firing. He tries to make him lower the weapon, but a shot accidentally fires, hitting the guard and killing him. Andrew breaks down and tries to save the guard's life but fails. Taylor succeeds in taking the weapon from the second guard and kills him. He tells Andrew that they have to leave before the others return. Andrew is tired from lack of food and water, but Taylor refuses to abandon him. He apologizes and tells him that everything that happened is his fault. He supports Andrew on his back and keeps walking with him until they reach a rocky area. They have to climb over it, but Andrew falls and injures his leg. The pride of lions appears, smelling blood and approaching them. Taylor is terrified and has to carry Andrew on his shoulders, helping him up the rocks. They fall asleep from exhaustion, but then the scorpion appears and crawls over Andrew. Taylor tells him not to move and takes the opportunity to throw the scorpion away. But a lion hears the noise, finds their location, and approaches them. Taylor has to sacrifice himself to fix his mistake. He asks Andrew to forgive him, leaves him, and runs away to distract the lion. He collapses from exhaustion as the lion closes in, killing him. Andrew is forced to continue the journey so that his sacrifice is not in vain. He keeps walking through the desert for a long time. Suddenly, hyenas appear and surround him, but he does not give up. He grabs the tree branch to fight them and attacks, but suddenly a storm starts, and it begins to rain. The hyenas are scared by the thunder and run away. Andrew is surprised by what happened and realizes that fate wants him to live. He falls to the ground and keeps drinking rainwater until he faints. He begins to hallucinate from exhaustion, seeing his wife in front of him. He keeps calling her, asking her to come back to him, but he is imagining it. He hears his wife telling him to live. When he opens his eyes, he sees two villagers. He calls for them, and they run to help him. They help him get up and take him with them to the village to treat him. Andrew decides to live to support his wife and children and spend the rest of his life doing good and helping those in need. The movie